what will likely go down as the race of the year. A new record gets set, and then unfortunately, another blow to the Super Twins class. What's up, everybody? It's Scotty here with Flat Track Flashback, and we're here to chat the Bridgeport half mile that took place over the weekend. And despite all the bump shots of metropolitan Philadelphia, this track is not in a big city out there in Swedesboro, New Jersey, and the back of the speedway looks more like a graveyard for semi-trailers. But the racetrack itself puts on an amazing show. 2 years in a row, we've been really treated once things came around in the night session. I say once things came around because early in the day, it looked like we were getting deja vu. Not the Olivia Rodrigo song, the actual experience. When you compare Middletown's practice to Bridgeport's practice, no, you're not looking at the same picture despite this office meme. A ton of dust, especially on the straightaways there at Bridgeport during practice, and it was a hot, hot day. In a week that was dominated on social media by Justin Timberlake's mugshot and this girl, who should probably be the next Bachelorette. I want all the contestants to be the single boys from the AFT paddock, so if you guys aren't in a relationship, try to holler at this girl. But we truly needed Justin Timberlake and the Hawk 2 girl to collaborate, because if she could have spat on that thing and Justin Timberlake could have cried us a river, it might have helped out with us beating the heat and the dust that was kicked up there early in the day. Just brutal conditions for everybody to deal with there early on in Bridgeport. And I know what you're probably thinking, well, is this going to be complaining about track conditions? No. As I said, this became a race of the year. Once the sun went down, once we got through practice, we were in for quite a treat, and it was from Heat 1 in the singles class that things were dicey. So let's get into the singles once again to kick this off. Now, sure, you had the usual suspects at the top, the four that we always mention: Cody Kopp, Tom Drain, Chase Sadoff, Trent Lowe. They topped qualifying with Tyler Raggio turning in an impressive performance early on. In the first heat race, we got a great battle. Once again, Cody Kopp, Chase Sadoff, another chapter in them dicing it up early in the day. And Chase and Cody had a great race in that first heat. James Ott even getting in the mix. And at one point, Cody not in a dash spot. And Cody, after setting quick time, you don't want to miss the dash. Cody's got the best performance thus far, or best track record of making dashes thus far this season in that class. So those three really mixing it up. Great racing throughout, and what would be a tone setter for the rest of the night. Chase ends up prevailing in that heat race over Cody, and then Ott just missing out. Cody really had to fight for that last dash spot on the last lap to get back around James. Now, as you move into heat 2, Tom Drain, pretty comfortable win over Trent Lowe in that. In the LCS, you get another great battle. Tyler Raggio, who's forced into the last chance race after being 5th in qualifying, has an amazing battle with Aiden Rousevans throughout that race, and those two dicing it up from about midway on till the end, with Raggio prevailing. And then on the last lap, Olin Kistler steals the final transfer spot from Reese Potter, which moves us into our dash. And probably one of the most impressive things throughout the night was this dash. See, Cody's move to take the lead from Tom Drain on the opening lap, and then Cody and Chase charging this track. They were sending it around this clay half mile and setting amazing lap times. I believe Cody got down into the 19.7s. They were cooking during this dash race. Such an impressive ride for both of them that does see Cody prevail, and a lot of confidence heading into this main event, which would be a barn burner. If you're just a casual fan of AFT and you're checking this out, or you're a diehard fan, either way, you have to appreciate what went down in that singles race. From the jump, impressive start by Logan Eisenhard, and then everybody behind them really getting spicy, dicing it up for positions. Landon Kalzak almost hits the chain link fence, not just the wall. It looked like his elbow was over the wall and scraping the fence down the front straightaway on lap 1. Up front, things start to settle in with our big four, and then James Ott as well, getting up there and mixing it up. These 5 would check out, and they would have a war. Chase Sadoff and Tom Drain especially early on, just knifing at each other. I mean, it was an insane battle between those two. I don't know exactly how many lead changes we had throughout the race, but officially, we'll get into those stats at the end. Around the halfway mark, Cody had a moment coming off of turn 4, nearly threw it away, and lost a little bit of time to Tom, Chase, and Trent. But with those guys battling up front, Cody and James Ott were able to claw back up there and get really close and get back in the battle. This would be crucial for Cody, who late in the race makes quite like he's just kind of rolling the outside as a line throughout the track, while you've got Tom and Chase kind of slicing each other in corners, one diving up the middle to try to make the move, the other squaring up underneath them. Those two slicing back and forth, and it allows Cody to kind of reel them in, just rolling the top, and Cody put down some great laps and was able to get to the front. And once he got ahead of them, there was a quick little back and forth between Chase and Tom one more time that allowed Cody to get just a little bit ahead and not be so close to where one of those two could have thrown another block pass at him. Cody able to pull away and survive this. We talked about Tom and Chase's battle. At one point, Drain riding hard. He was trying to get the lead back from Chase and got up into him down the back straightaway. And then later in the race, after Cody takes the lead, Tom is pushing, wanting to get that win, and he actually hits the wall on the front straightaway. I mean, these guys put on one of the most amazing spectacles of motorcycle racing that I have seen this year and in recent history. Maybe that's recency bias on my part, but just an insane race. Please go back and give that video some views. If you haven't seen the highlights, check those out. But this is a race worth watching from start to finish, and just amazing hats off to all those guys involved in that race. This was truly, amidst all the elements that were factored in, the heat and just the intensity of that battle, too. These guys are pure athletes and put on a show for everybody in the stands. You had to wait out the heat, but man, they turned it up a notch on the racetrack. So Cody Kopp gets the win over Tom Drain, who gets second. Chase Sadoff settles into third. Tread was up there in the battle, led at one point during this race, but was passed by James Ott. So James breaks up the party of four up front and gets into a top five. Actually, James's best result of the season, getting into fourth place after a really bad week in Middletown last week that saw him outside the top 10. So good bounce back for him. And then let's go ahead and run through these results real quick. You got, we talked about the top five, and as we move into page 2, Tyler Raggio and Aiden Roos-Evans, they salvaged top 10s from the last chance showdown. I mentioned Logan Eisenhard getting a really good start. His starts were on point all day. He finishes sixth, and he didn't make the main event at Middletown. Unfortunate for our leading rookie contender, Evan Renshaw. He only got 5 laps in. Due to a mechanical, had to pull off. A DNF for Evan. Huge bummer for him, as I think this was a track that he was potentially going to be up in that mix with those other 5 riders for the win. And I'd love to see him get up there and fighting for the lead again. We talked about official lead changes. We had over 10 lead changes officially. That's different leaders at the finish line, and that doesn't factor in who might have taken the lead for a little bit in 1 and 2 or gotten it back in 3 and 4. Like, that number is countless. I'm sure if you slow it down, sure, you can count that happened, that happened, that happened. But north of 10 official lead changes at the line amongst Cody, Tom, Chase, and Trent. And in a 26-lap race, you almost had a lead change every 2 laps. Just, that's the kind of stuff you see it at miles. And this was such an impressive performance by everybody involved. But you've got to especially say Cody Kopp, who now has 20 wins in the singles class. He has sole possession of first all-time in that class for now, as he still has a season to contend with. And Shayna Texter-Bauman's still in the class with a track coming up that she's won at. And, of course, the miles, you got to factor those in as well. But right now, Cody is dominant. Won 3 straight. He's looking to win 4 in a row next weekend. He has done that before in 2022. Cody did win 4 straight. And Cody teased a little something there on the podium, how he might pull double duty at Lima. Don't hang that carrot in front of us. Don't get us super hyped up about that yet, Cody. But, hey, what if he does? What if he shows out and tries to do double duty at Lima? That would be fire. That would be amazing to see him make his debut there. But Cody has a championship to focus on as well in the singles class, so we'll see how it plays out. And looking at the points, Cody now north of 30 ahead of a war between Tom and Chase Sadoff for second place. And Trent Lowe, unfortunately, he and James Ott just they're kind of falling out of any contention for this championship at this point, and might have to settle into to what they can get out of this season. But we'll see what happens. Still half a season to go, and anything can certainly happen. But this singles class, again, what a treat! Still riding that high from that race. I might have to go back and watch it again later this week, several times, just to truly enjoy. This is why we love flat track racing, when you have a lot of variables and a lot of things that have not gone our way this year. But to get a race like that, it just makes you remember everything that is so spectacular about this sport and what these riders are able to deliver for us. Now, over to the twins class. Real quick, side note, whatever that horn was on the broadcast, cut that out. We can't be having that. But with the racing, we get to see a new rider in the twins class. Not really new for him, but new for this year. Chad Coase back on the Indian. moving up to the Twins class, and good to see Chad back in the Premier class. Definitely a capable rider and worthy of a Twins ride. So it's good to see him back up in that class, although his day would not go how he would have liked, I'm sure. Early in the day, Brandon Robinson tops Q1 and Dalton Gauthier fast once again. A+ for Dalton on his effort on that Royal Enfield. Just to be able to move into that ride and immediately make an impact and be sporty up front with the guys who are fighting for this championship. I hope that Dalton's able to extend this throughout the year and carry it over into next year, because I would love to see Dalton have a full-time ride in that Royal Enfield in the Twins program next year. That was Q1. And Jared Mees was about 0.3 off of everybody in qualifying one, down in 14th overall. So Jared was going to have work to do. We're going to see another struggle for Mees on a clay track. He's still recovering from that mountain bike accident, and maybe there is something there that is holding him back early in the day. But Q2 rolls on, and no times for Dallas Daniels, and the track was getting faster. During qualifying 2, Briar Bauman sets fast time overall. He was the only rider to drop into the 19th there. And we see significant improvement for Jared, who ends up 5th overall in qualifying. So able to salvage that, and big time for him to be able to be on the front row for these heat races, because he would get a good start and he would have to fight Dallas and Briar in his heat race. And having those three in a heat race is a show all its own. Dallas, an amazing start for a bad qualifying position, gets up the inside and gets right into the thick of things with Jared and Briar. And those two would just put on quite a clinic. Again, we talked about how good the racing was throughout the day. These three riders giving us a treat in the Twins heat race as well. A rider who unfortunately had more bad luck, but is a rider that was really successful last year at Bridgeport, and that's Davis Fisher, who gets relegated to the Last Chance Showdown, and just his season just continues to be met with hurdles here. Really ever since leaving Daytona, it feels like Davis just continues to have bad luck that he has to overcome. We had a weird situation in this heat race, and a lot of riders pretty upset. Apparently no white flag shown. The checker flag just comes out, and then they ran an extra lap, and then the checker flag's out again. You can see riders visibly upset and talking to officials afterwards. Very confusing thing there. Definitely not something you love to see at the highest level of competition. They would explain it later on the broadcast, what went down. So I appreciate the transparency there and explaining what happened with that ruling. But we talked about Mees and maybe the injury affecting him. And he would speak about it in an interview, how there was just something that was a little bit missing. And it's weird to see this Jared Mees where it's not the super confident, like, I don't know. There's just something different about Jared right now. And you got to figure that maybe these injuries are still plaguing him, but he's a warrior. He's battling through it. He gets that heat race win over Dallas and Briar, who Briar, again, fastest on the day in qualifying, and Dallas, the defending winner of the event. So big for Jared to get that heat race win. We talked about Chad Kosa's debut on the Indian not going so well. He ends up on the ground in heat race number 2, was able to get up and be okay, but would have to be relegated to the LCS. And during that downtime, we get a nice soundbite from Bronson Bauman, who's a little spicy and talking about how he's getting more and more comfortable on the bike. Really fun hearing from Bronson on the Tank Slapping podcast last week. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, please do so. Bronson, always a great interview, and quite honestly, I feel like he and Briar would be phenomenal for a podcast or YouTube show if they ever decide they want to venture down that road. It would be, I feel like that would do really, really well, having the two of them and their inside and their back and forth. Bronson, just really great personality and such a wonderful person to have on the circuit. And it's good to see them making strides and making improvements on their program this year. Bronson's somebody who I think is going to be really sporty here in the coming weeks, potentially fighting for top 5 podiums, maybe a win, who knows. But back to that heat race, we see Brandon Robinson up front looking pretty good early in this race, but the restart was not kind to him. In fact, he got relegated back quite a bit. Dalton Gauthier gets a good start, ends up toward the front, but B-Rob and Jared Vanderkooi fight back, and Brandon's able to persevere and get to the front and win this heat race and kind of carry his solid momentum throughout the night. Brandon, again, he's been off the podium a few rounds in a row, so looking to get back into back on the box and get a little bit of that momentum back in the championship, try to claw back a few points tonight. And he was setting the tone early on for what would be a precursor of more to come. As we go into the LCQ, a really fun race to watch there as well. Wyatt Vaughn gets out front early, and then we get to watch Davis Fisher and Dan Bromley, Billy Ross sort of work their way through toward the front. Fisher especially very patient, biding his time and making the passes where he could. He gets to the front and then pulls away, wins the LCS. Davis, again, so fast at Bridgeport last year, was up there fighting for a win, and just bad luck again in his heat race. He's relegated to the LCS where he does make it through. And Chad Coast, again, who had bad luck in his heat race, he does qualify for the Twins main event as well. Moving into the Twins dash, a chance at $5,000, and Brandon Robinson and Jared Meese hoping to keep momentum going from their heat race victories, and it would be Brandon who would get the lead coming out of 1 and 2 and survive aggressive turn down moves from Jared Vanderkooi and Dallas Daniels. Robinson able to squeak out ahead and pull a gap on Meese, Daniels, and Vanderkooi, who would battle it out for second place. And before they were able to settle into to their positions in the dash, Robinson was able to get a safe enough gap to pull away and hold on for a win in the dash and keep things rolling for him on the night as he's looking to pick up his 3rd win on the season, which would equal a career best for Brandon. He's picked up 3 wins in the Premier class before, as recently as 2022, and then again back in 2013 as well. Brandon having a great year and looking to claw back points, as we mentioned earlier. So here we go. Twins main event, putting a cap on the night. Can they replicate the singles main event? Can they follow that act? And could they recreate the epic battle that took place a year ago? Well, it wouldn't quite live up to those standards, but this would still be a very exciting race all the way to the finish. Dallas Daniels, horrendous start. He's buried in about 10th by the time we get through turns 1 and 2, gets up to 9th on the end of the first lap, but just buried in the pack, and he's going to have a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, Brandon Robinson and Jared Meese fighting up front, and Brandon and Jared, they had a battle down in Texas, and it looked like they were reigniting that here at Bridgeport, but Brandon's able to survive the attacks from Meese and pull out a little gap and leave Meese to battle with Vanderkooi. So while the Jareds are going at it for second, Dallas is working his way up through the pack and is able to get into second place and start to chase down Brandon Robinson. And Robinson, just great defensive riding, really smart racecraft. And Dallas would, late in the race, as we were coming to the end of the time, into the 10 minutes, Dallas makes a move on Brandon. Brandon's able to get back underneath him, and these two would battle it out till the end. And Brandon's able to hold on, and again, like we talked about, he picks up his 3rd one on the year, equaling a career best for a season. And Brandon, by doing so, closes in a little bit on those points. So as we're going through the results, again, Brandon Robinson able to survive the attacks from a charging Dallas Daniels and prevent him from repeating at Bridgeport. Meese holds on for a very important podium to stay within striking distance in this championship as we hit the halfway point. And unfortunately, you don't see Jared Vanderkooi there because Jared had a mechanical late in the race with just a couple laps to go, which saw him tumble down the timing sheet. Super unfortunate for Vanderkooi, who put together a really strong night altogether and just doesn't have the result to show for it. Super bummed to see that. But you do see in the top 5, you see Davis Fisher, who works his way from a last chance qualifier into the main event, and then from that salvages a top 5 on the night. Davis, it would have been great to see him have a better start and be up front and mix it up with these riders early on like he was able to do last year. But Davis still able to salvage a top 5, and maybe this can sort of turn their season around a little. Looking at the rookies, Bruner and Bender come home 7th and 8th, season bests for both of them. So super strong rides for the 2 rookies to get a top 10. And speaking of top 10, Dalton Gauthier, once again, comes home 10th on that Royal infield. As we talked about the points, Brandon Robinson now into second place, and he's just 14 behind Dallas. Dallas keeps clicking off these podiums, though, and keeping himself ahead in this championship. Jared Vanderkooi's misfortune would push him out of the top 5. There we see Brandon Price now moving into 5th place in the points, and Price, Vanderkooi, and Fisher, that fight for 5th, they're only separated by 7 points. And then Trevor Brewer, the leading rookie, he only sits 16 behind Brandon Price there in 8th. So that battle could get really, really fun throughout the rest of the year. You know, we've seen the top 3 sort of starting to break away in this championship, and Breyer's still keeping in contact, but he's starting to fade a little bit, and Breyer's going to have to get a couple of wins to really start putting pressure back on these guys as we enter the second half of the season. We're going to Lima, a track that Breyer's got as many wins on in the past decade as Jared Meese. They've been the winningest riders in Lima over the past 10 years. Jared, 5-time winner at Lima in his career, including his first ever win. We'll get into the Lima preview here in a little bit. Unfortunately, we got to talk about the dichotomy of the sport, and that is the highs that we get from this amazing racing, but the lows that see another rider injured in the Twins class. And Colby Carlisle picks up an injury in Bridgeport, and that's going to put him on the shelf for a little while. Colby's somebody I've gotten to know a good bit this year, and just really gutted to see his post. I know this year hasn't been the best for Colby so far, and just another blow to them on the season, and just a huge bummer for Colby and that G&G Racing team. this twins class has taken so many hits this year, and especially recently. You know, we talked about the 3-rider pileup that happened, or more multi-riders, more than that actually, piled up in Ventura. But we lose Johnny Lewis, Ben Lau, and Morgan Mishler that night. And then last week, Max Whale injured in Middletown. Now this week, Colby Carlisle. I mean, that's 5 really, really talented riders that are now missing from the Super Twins class. Ben Lau, Colby Carlisle, and Johnny Lewis, 9th, 10th, and 11th in Super Twins points last year. And then Morgan Mishler and Max Whale moved up to the Super Twins class, and they were riders who were multi-time singles winners and finished top 10 in singles points last year. So just real blow to the depth of the Super Twins class. Hopefully all those riders are able to recover and we can see them back on the track. And speaking of back on track, if you can, please support that charity. Super thankful and blessed that they're involved with this sport. And man, I just feel like their list of riders to help just keeps growing and growing. You know, we know the risks that are involved with this. We just hope it never happens. And for everybody who's been impacted by an injury racing flat track, please, you know how helpful these folks can be at Back on Track. And if you're able to donate and help out their causes, please do so. Again, we're super thankful and blessed to have them helping out riders in the sport. I don't want to end on a somber note, so let's look ahead to the race that we're probably almost all of us are probably most excited for on the season, and that's Lima, baby. We are pumped. What better way to start the second half of the season and the second half of this 4-week stretch of racing than with the Cushion Half Mile at the Allen County Fairgrounds. Lima is the race that I look forward to more than anything on the year. I don't get to go, but as far as the race that I'm most excited about on the calendar, it's this one. And in the twins class, we spoke earlier, Briar Bauman and Jared Mees over the past 10 years have picked up more wins than anybody else at that track. 3 for Briar, 3 for Jared, a pair of wins for Brandon Robinson as well. The odds are not exactly in Briar's favor. Every year that Briar has won Lima recently, 2017, he won. The following year, he finished 4th. In 2021, he picked up the victory. The following year, he finished 4th. So he's missed the podium the following year of his wins at Lima. So is that trend going to continue? And we see another rider hop up on the podium? Over the past 2 years, Dallas Daniels and Jared Mees have filled out that podium, with Daniels picking up back-to-back runner-up finishes and Jared, the promoter, picking up back-to-back third-place finishes. Jared picked up his first ever win at Lima. He's a 5-time winner at the track, 2 behind all-time leader Scotty Parker, who's got 7 wins at Lima. Jared, the promoter, definitely not quite in a must-win situation necessarily, but it's getting there. Dallas has managed to come home second place in those main events the past couple of years. Could this be his breakthrough year? Could Briar get a back-to-back win? You know, nobody's won back-to-back years at Lima since Jared did it in 2018 and 2019. I remember some epic battles with he and Briar and Jeffrey Carver at that track. And Lima just produces such great racing, and I'm really excited for this round coming up. Again, Brandon Robinson, another rider to keep an eye out for in that class, and coming off of a win and carrying that confidence. Brandon picks up another win on Saturday night at Lima. That would cut the points deficit to single digits heading into DuQuoin. And also we talked about Bronson and the confidence they've been getting on that bike, and looking at him potentially being a dark horse for top 5 podium, potentially maybe even greater on the season. Bronson's finished 6th back-to-back years at Lima, and the rider who's finished 5th back-to-back years, JD Beach, he's off-road racing. So could this be Bronson's first top 5 of the season? Could he maybe get up there and fight for a podium? We'll see what that program's got for the twins guys. And then in the singles class, we know how Lima's looked the past couple years. It's been Cody Kopp and Tom Drain. Tom's debut shocked a lot of people there a couple of years ago when he ran second to Cody. But then when he came back last year and led a good chunk of that race before Cody was able to get the better of him, I don't think we were surprised one bit. Tom's been super fast at Lima. Cody's just loving these cushion tracks, and he's been fast everywhere. Also, Chase Sadoff, who's second in points, he picked up a podium at Lima a couple years ago, but DNF'd, unfortunately, in 2023, which brings us to another rider who was coming off of their best finish of the season, in James Ott, who was able to podium at Lima last year. So could James maybe parlay that to another podium this year? I do think Cody and Tom have been really just the class of the field at that track, and are probably the ones to be favored out there Saturday night. But Chase has shown just raw speed this year, and James has been sporty at Lima. And then, of course, we can't forget those Turner bikes, Trent Lowe and Evan Renshaw. Evan had a super impressive run out there at the amateur program last year, and of course the defending Horizon Award winner, and Evan really still looking for that sort of statement performance, I think. Put a whole night together for his rookie season, coming off of mechanical issues at Bridgeport. Evan's going to be fired up, and I think this was a track that he was very much looking forward to getting after. And then, can Trent Lowe break through and get that first win? Just a lot of things to keep an eye on out there when we head to the Allen County Fairgrounds. Very, very excited to see what all unveils there in Lima. And if you guys can't be there, catch all the action on Flo Racing. And this is an event, though, that it is atop my bucket list. At some point in my life, I need to get to Lima. Been able to see the Daytona Short Track, Springfield, Hagerstown. We've talked about how much I loved 2001 at Charlotte. Like, I've gotten to experience so many amazing things within the sport. I'm very blessed for that. And Lima's kind of that one thing that I still need to tick off the list. And I would love to do amateur nationals at some point as well, but that's an undertaking. That's going to do it for us. Please make sure you're checking out everybody that's supporting the sport and talking about it and keeping the ball rolling, keeping the momentum going in the, media world of this. Tank Slapping Podcast, Corey and Eric with the long form, amazing entertainment value coming out of them. Always love looking forward to their podcast. It's become Wednesday appointment listening every morning. I'm loving that they've got sort of a routine down and have a rhythm, and we know almost when to expect that show. So huge thanks to Corey and Eric for the time and effort they put into that, and are able to give us such amazing analysis and raw talking points about the sport. One of the best podcasts, period. Not just Flat Track Motorsports, just period. So give them a follow, support their content. The voice of American Flat Track, Scotty Taylor with Off the Groove, and how connected he is. We appreciate him being able to give us so much information on outlaw events, and then to recap his time at nationals, and of course talking about different things that are going on in our sport. Love having Scotty involved and doing a show as well. Pipe Dreams put out a recent interview with Sean Dillon Kelly. Corey Alexander and James Rispoli do an amazing job with that show as well, and great YouTube channel if you want to watch those interviews. Sammy Halbert's got a lot of exciting things coming up, so keep an eye out on his YouTube channel, one of the premier channels for flat track content. Sammy does an incredible job putting those videos together and getting to see so much onboard footage and analysis. Love what he's doing. Talked about Corey Texter with the vlogs that he's doing on his channel as well. Flat Track Factory with texts and tips. All these creators who are and videographers and photographers who are putting stuff out there, support them as best you can, even if it's just a like and a share on Instagram or Facebook. Let's keep talking about it and keep people motivated and keep this ball rolling and keep the good vibes, man. We've had a lot of hurdles thrown at us, but we're coming off of a super exciting weekend, and we got what could be the race of the year behind us, unless Lima wants to come back and take that crown. And I think we got a good chance to see that happen. So y'all enjoy the last Saturday in June, and let's have a good time, y'all. Take care.